So today, we're here to do a bit of a different video with the Crown Vic. It is why one of these can still be a better buy than its predecessors, the Ford Taurus and the Ford Explorer. Now, before we get going, I'm not saying that the Taurus or the Explorer are a bad vehicle. Most of this video is probably going to end up focusing on the cost of the cars, as admittedly, the Taurus and the Explorers both have newer technology and handle far superior than the Ford Crown Vic. However, they're not a ton faster. They do handle much, much better. So let's dive into things. First and foremost, when we're talking about a Crown Vic, you can pick one of these up for not even half the price that you'd end up paying for a Ford Taurus or a Ford Explorer, whether it's a police model or civilian. Both the Crown Vic models are very cheap to find, especially nowadays where the newest one is almost 8 years old. You can pick these up generally for around $3,000 on average, whether it's a police model or civilian model. Take your pick. The second reason is gas mileage. Gas mileage is almost the same as it is on the Taurus and the Explorer, and I personally have experience with this. I had a Taurus once for a week, and the gas mileage in that thing on the highway was actually the exact same as it is in my Ford Crown Vic. However, in the city, it got about 2 miles per gallon better. So when you look at it and average it out, they're really about the exact same as far as MPG goes. I cannot comment on the police model of the Taurus, and however, compared to the police model of the Crown Vic. However, I'd expect results are probably somewhat similar. Second of all, durability. These things do not cost much to maintain. I know with the Taurus, after it goes through police abuse, you're probably still going to have to replace the transmission like you do in a Crown Vic, which is even more expensive. And the water pumps tend to go in the Tauruses around 120 to 130,000 miles, and that's an 11-hour labor job. Something on this that only takes half an hour. So you tell me what is better as far as cost goes with that. Now, one place the Crown Vic really falters compared to the Taurus is that it is only rear-wheel drive. Now, when you live in a climate that's in California or Florida, that does not matter at all. But when you live here, and as you can see, all the leaves have pretty much come down already, and it's probably going to snow sometime within the next couple of weeks. Speaking of which, I need to get my winter tires on. All-wheel drive does come in handy with hills. However, my general rule of thumb is if it's too dangerous for a front-wheel drive to be on the road, it's probably too dangerous for a rear-wheel drive is going to come off the road at the exact same time as a rear-wheel drive car as far as the deepness of the snow goes. I got through over 12 inches of snow driving through this, coming up that driveway one day. This car can dig through the snow as long as you get good winter tires. Now, the other thing that's big time cost savings on these cars is the tires. The police model tires on these runs at 235, 55, 17, which is what I have on here right now for my rubber. The Taurus runs a 245, 45, 18. So when you're talking about tire prices and buying the brand new, a set of Taurus tires can easily cost you an extra $200 to $300 almost. So when you have to replace your rubber every couple of years, even that can add up. The only thing the Taurus is going to have an advantage on is rust, because as we all know, these cars are getting pretty old now, so you can see the rust starting to come in. That fender's probably going to get replaced eventually, or I might just get a different Crown Vic in the spring anyway. But overall, when you look at the long-term cost, even on the maintenance, the Taurus is still going to be a more expensive car. I mean, this car has seriously been maintenance-free for me for the most part. I've done my oil changes, I've done my fluid changes like the transmission and whatnot, my air filter changes, my fuel filter changes. This car has been problem-free. All I've had to replace was sway bar bushings and end links, which in total cost me $120. And then I've done spark plugs, which is maintenance. I've done a throttle body clean, which is maintenance. And that's all I've done besides a gas tank because of rust. This car is almost 12 years old. It's got 100,000 miles on it in a week. And that's all that's ever had to be done to this car. I can't comment on the Taurus because I haven't had one that long term. But the parts are cheap. Everything is cheap for this car that you can pretty much get. Unless you have to replace the transmission, obviously. Even on the inside, when we're looking in here, I was watching another video, even the headlights in a Taurus can cost you up to $300, whereas on a Crown Vic you can get a headlight for 30 bucks. I mean, the parts are much more readily available, and if you ask me, in the long term, a Crown Vic is still a much better buy. You're not going to have the features like a Taurus will, for example, like the all-wheel drive and a better stereo, but you're going to have that durability for sure, and it's not going to cost you a whole lot. And that's not to say the Taurus isn't a good car, because I've driven them. They can still be fun, but I still like hopping in the old school V8 and knowing that it's going to keep going and going and going. And I'm not saying the Taurus wouldn't do that either, but if you look at the whole cost, even over 5 years, I'd say Taurus is still going to cost you at least twice that of a Crown Vic over a 5-year period. And including that, insurance is going to be a lot higher than a Crown Vic as well. I mean, if you can afford a Taurus and you want a Taurus, go ahead and buy one. But if you're still looking to save the most amount of money possible and drive for as cheaply as possible for police-style vehicles, the Crown Vic is still your option for that. It rides smooth, drives great, sounds nice, gets decent fuel economy for what it is. I mean, either way, you can't go wrong if you buy a Taurus or a Crown Vic, I don't think. I mean, Taurus is obviously going to cost you a lot more, but in the long run, a Crown Vic is definitely cheaper. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a good one, everybody.